This moment right here is the point where Counter-Strike officially died. Over the years, Valve have done so much to make Counter-Strike the greatest first-person shooter of all time. But after years at the top, everything came undone. In 2011, Valve officially launched the closed beta of Counter-Strike Global Offensive to a select group of people who had been given keys. The purpose of the game was to bridge the communities of Counter-Strike 1.6 and Counter-Strike Source, and unify them in a game that showed off the best of both worlds. For 1.6 players, you were still getting a polished spray pattern, economy, and map layout from years gone, and for the more casual players who had flocked over to Counter-Strike Source, they were still getting the incredible physics from the Source engine and an even more polished visual to go along with it, so it truly was a win-win situation. This approach seemed to be a great idea as more and more people flocked to it once the game officially launched in August 2012. From there it was full speed ahead as we got update after update, and by April 2013, only 8 months later, we had received the very first operation of all time, Operation Payback. The idea was simple. Buy an Operation Pass and get access to 7 different maps in official casual servers. A portion of all passes that were purchased were, and I quote here, aimed at giving a well-earned financial reward to some of CSGO's most popular and prolific map makers. Who wouldn't want to support the community by buying an Operation Pass? With maps like Seaside, Thunder, and Downtown, the pass was easily worth the price of entry. And that price? Well, for a limited time upon release, it was $2.99 US, of course. But if you missed that discount, later on it became $5.99. Still, that's it. That's all it cost. Now, this was going on around the same time that Valve were also selling the compendium for Dota 2's International 3 tournament. For those who don't know, the International is an annual tournament similar to Counter-Strike's Majors, except Valve seemed to actually care about the International for some reason. This particular International was special though, because the International 3 had the first ever compendium, which was designed specifically to have fans of the game fund the prize pool directly by purchasing an in-game pass, similar to how the operation was made to fund map makers. The compendium only cost $9.99, and for every purchase made, $2.50 of that was shoved directly into the prize pool. This was also fully trackable on the official website that shows that in 2013 they managed to raise a whopping $2,874,380 USD. This was a huge win for the Dota 2 community, and for Valve as well, who managed to walk away with over $8.5 million for their efforts in such a short period of time. And this should have been an easy way for Valve to raise money to both support themselves and the esports scene. With the blueprint clearly in front of Valve's eyes, what could possibly go wrong and ruin things for them? On August 14th, 2013, Ninjas in Pajamas launched the update that killed Counter-Strike forever. The update I'm talking about, of course, is the famous Arms Deal update, which introduced weapon skins to Counter-Strike for the very first time. Not as mods, but as official in-game items. Not only did it introduce in-game item drops like in Team Fortress 2 and Dota 2, but it also introduced cases that required you to purchase a key. One was simply the CSGO weapon case, but the other was this beauty called the esports weapon case. And the big thing that Valve pushed about this was that a portion of all sales from the case will be directed to fund prize purses at upcoming CSGO events. How much is a portion? Well, the thing is, they never told us. For every key, it could be $1, or it could be a single cent. Unlike the International, there was no tracker for the players to see and feel like they made a difference. Fast forward a few months to the end of November, and we were greeted with the first ever Counter-Strike Major tournament, DreamHack Winter 2013. The prize pool was $250,000. To be fair, Valve never said if the prize purse would be capped at a specific amount, and even at this time, it was met with a little bit of disappointment, especially after seeing the Dota 2 International raise over $2 million months prior. And who can blame people for thinking this way? This pattern also continued for the next 2 majors as well, with the esports winter case released in late December 2013 that was once again said to fund the future Counter-Strike esports tournaments. By March, the second major, EMS1 Katowice 2014, came and went with the exact same prize pool of $250,000. But this is where the pattern shifts just a bit, as they released one more third and final esports case. But they just said, we get a new case. No mention of funding anything anymore. It was just a case. So, were we gaslit the entire time into believing that we were going to be helping build the pro scene to bigger and better things? Most likely. If you think that we should have higher prize pools for the majors, let me know by leaving a comment and hitting the like button below. Earlier, I mentioned how big of a deal it was that the operations were added to the game with the launch of Operation Payback, but I don't think that people truly understood how great they really were. But, as they say, all good things must come to an end. And for the operations of Counter-Strike Global Offensive, they died well before you may have realized. For the record, I don't think we're ever going to see another operation again, at least in the traditional sense. And if you don't believe me, sit back because you're about to have your mind blown. After Operation Payback ended on August 31st, 2013, we only had to wait 19 days for Operation Bravo to launch. If you thought that such a small turnaround time like this would probably mean that you were getting the exact same thing with different maps, you are sorely mistaken. Unlike Operation Payback, which launched with 7 community maps, Valve launched the operation with 8 community maps, 7 of which were new to the game. And later, with the Winter Offensive update, also added Overpass and Cobblestone to the operation. Operation Bravo was also the first to include the tracking of stats during the operation, so you could keep track of how much time you played in competitive matches, as well as your wins, MVPs, kills, and headshot percentage. Owners of the Operation Pass were also given access to an exclusive weapon collection, the Alpha Collection, which featured some of the ugliest skins around, but hey, they were exclusive. The operation also included the brand new Bravo case, but the reality is that technically anyone could get one as a drop, even if they didn't have the Operation Pass. Looking back, this kind of work in such a small period should really be applauded. They added so much value to something that was already a fun way to spend your time. Once again, this should have been an easy pattern to continue for many years to come. Pick some awesome community maps, create a case to make even more money off, add a few extra features, charge the players a relatively small fee for the privilege, and you win. But as the years went on, gaps between the operations seemed to get just a little longer. Now see this one right here, this is Operation Hydra, and as far as I'm concerned, this is the last real operation that Valve ever made. Why? It was the last one that felt like it was made with love. It still had plenty of awesome community maps, along with new game modes and some cool weapon collections as drops. This is also the last time that you could officially play Dust or Aztec along with the original Vertigo and Militia versions. Then something terrible happened. Valve seemed to forget the password to the CSGO admin account. Remember how Operation Bravo launched 19 days after Payback? Well, after Hydra ended, Valve took a slightly different approach. They forgot that Counter-Strike existed for 735 days. Operation Shattered Web is easily the worst and probably the most greedy update in Counter-Strike history. Not only did it have 3 maps, only one was a traditional defusal map, one was a danger zone map, and one was a flying scoutsman map. This is already enough of a red flag to point out that something just isn't right. The pass for the operation also cost $14.99 when the standard for years prior was $5.99. For that price, you might expect some sort of crazy step up in quality and innovation, but the reality is that it was just a $15 battle pass that they made to introduce the new agent skins they had been working on. Oh, and if you didn't have time to actually unlock everything you wanted, well, you could always just buy as many stars as you needed to complete the pass and give Valve even more money for no real reason. And this is where the greed of Valve seemed to be taking over decision-making. No longer were the community being put first. We weren't seeing innovation or cool maps from the community. We weren't seeing overhauls and fixes for major problems within the game, and instead, everything seemed to be focusing on cosmetics. The operation did actually continue the co-op strike storyline, but outside of that, there was really nothing else going on. Nearly a year later, Operation Broken Fang was more of the same, except they realized how big of a mistake it was to try and sell an operation with almost no maps, and they've managed to find 6 maps this time. 4 traditional defusal maps, 1 hostage map, and 1 danger zone map. The real difference between Shattered Web and Broken Fang, though, is that the stars you earned from missions were not simply placed towards whatever was the next unlock in line, and instead you could bank your stars and spend them on whatever you wanted in the Broken Fang shop. Sound familiar? This also meant that you could get up to 4 master agents from 1 pass, or you could waste your money getting yourself 100 stickers or graffiti. If you really hated yourself, Operation Broken Fang is also the last time we ever saw co-op strike in the game. And it wasn't like Valve just let you simply play co-op strike anytime you wanted. Instead, as each operation ended, you needed to download the map off the Steam Workshop and host a lobby. Finally, the last operation we ever saw was Operation Riptide, which was basically a reskinned Broken Fang, although it did introduce short competitive as well as free-for-all deathmatch. The only good thing to come out of this operation was the fact that it included one of the best hostage maps of all time, Insertion 2. Operation Riptide was supposed to be all water-themed as well, with the logo being a shark, something that Operations had jumped long ago. And the new operator skins that they included to the shop this time around were themed around this water idea, as they were all wearing scuba diving outfits and flippers, just what my land-based tactical shooter needed. The diamond coin as well, for all of you sweaty nerds out there that managed to get that, was also lackluster to the point that the community bullied Valve into changing it from this bland-looking thing into something that actually looks pretty damn good. The reality is that Valve stopped caring about operations, and when they came up with their Battle Pass system to introduce agents, they decided to brand it as an operation to use familiarity to sell it, pretty much. The worst part is, people actually bought them. They paid a premium and got next to nothing for it. But there is a silver lining for this part of the story. The original point of these operations was simply to give money back to the map creators in the community who were out there building some of the best, awesome maps for everyone to enjoy. And at the moment of writing this at least, Counter-Strike 2 is currently on a streak of rotating community maps in and out of the game every few months, which is great for those creators. But also great for the players who are looking for some new content to play all the time. And that's also why we don't need an operation anymore. They took their star-based store, separated it from the map part of the operation. The operation is now just the Armory Pass, a perpetual star store with rotating collections to choose from. And the reality is, the options here suck. If you don't consider this an operation and are still holding out for Valve to release the real operation, go to your game data page on your Steam profile, and under Operation Progress, you will see any and all Armory Passes that you currently have. Looking back, it's sad to see how something as loved as the operations slowly got destroyed by greed, but we can trace it once again all the way back to this one moment. The moment that Valve introduced weapon skins, they stopped making a game and started running a casino. When people tell you that skins ruin the game, they don't mean the fact that you can equip different skins and operators. They're usually talking about the fact that the game, which at the time was pay to play, not free to play, and all of the focus on this game was adding awesome features and making the game the best that it could possibly be. You used to buy the game, and it came with everything you needed to play. Skins and cases aren't some expansion that you paid extra for. These are microtransactions designed to take more of your money. Valve use psychological tactics to make you feel like you're less of a player and do everything that they can to emphasize the skins. They shove them right up in your face and show off the skins at any given moment to make you really want them as much as you possibly can. Now you might think, I never open cases or buy the Armory Pass, so you can't blame me. But if you've ever used the Steam market to sell even your free care package drops, unfortunately, you kind of are also to blame. Why, you may ask? Taxes. Valve taxes you for every single transaction made on the Steam marketplace. Just how much are they making though? Well, pick a random Counter-Strike item on the marketplace, like the Dreams and Nightmares case for example. The chart here shows a price we can assume that was the average for that hour. For example, on October 4th at 2 PM, 4,360 of these cases were sold for an average of $3.03. Now, just to be clear, I'm Australian, so all the prices for this will be in Aussie dollary doos. If you sell this case for $3.03, after Valve's tax, you would actually receive $2.64, which means Valve took 39 cents for every single one of those transactions. Times that by 4,360 in that 1 hour period, and you have $1,700.40 in 1 hour, where they did literally nothing. That is the real sneaky thing about these skins. This is just one case as well. Check any really popular item and you will see similar results. They are literally making hundreds of thousands of dollars per day without needing to do anything. You don't even need to buy into cases for them to be making money off you. That's how powerful their current business model is, and it's honestly genius. We've also seen less and less emphasis on updates, fixing issues and adding features that we used to have in CSGO back to CS2. This kind of work doesn't make money. Random skins are what make money, especially now that the game is free to play. Those of us who paid upfront years ago have gotten more than our money's worth out of the game at this point, and Valve have gotten more than their fair share of monies out of me in return. I don't blame Valve for wanting to make money off the game. After all, Valve are a business, and they need money to keep the lights on and make more projects viable. But at what point do we the players not get together and say, enough is enough? Sure, you release little fixes every week for things, and then break things that you didn't intend to break, and then you fix them a little bit later again. But this isn't the same kind of love and dedication that we saw in CSGO for its first few years. We don't know if the team working on CS2 even play the game in a competitive sense. We don't have the team communicating with us about their goals, their dreams, or their vision for the project going forward, and this is probably because they know that if they fall short or change their mind due to unforeseen circumstances, that they will never hear the end of it. And if I'm honest, I feel bad for them knowing that this kind of behavior is inevitable, but also important as it would help to keep them honest, but also just to see how passionate the fans of the game really are about certain features. This truly has been one hell of a ripple effect. Without skins, we might not have seen the game become anywhere near as popular as it has. But at the same time, the skins seem to have taken away all of the attention from people who want to play the game for what it's meant to be, a tactical first-person shooter. I don't care if you love the competitive side of the game, the casual side, or even the community game modes that have given Counter-Strike even more life to it. Counter-Strike is Counter-Strike, and it deserves all the love and care in the world shown to it. It deserves to have the annoying bugs fixed and beloved features return. We will never see another true Operation. We will continue to see more and more skins added, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we as a community deserve better. Thank you very much for watching. Like the video if you haven't already. Use that weird hype thing in the Android app. I don't understand. Subscribe to Kotek for more Counter-Strike videos. Like this video. And as always, take care.